Hey guys, welcome to our first step of talking about angle relations. So in this, we are going to be focusing in on the vocabulary that kind of ties to it. So you guys have been learning angles and talking about angles with acute and obtuse and all of these different things already. So we're going to kind of take a look at some specific words that tie with it. So let's have our notes out. Anything I write, you're also going to write into your notes, and I would encourage you to mirror it exactly as is. So the first thing we're going to write is our title of angle relationships, and this is going to focus in on the vocabulary of it. All right, so that's kind of our step one of what we're doing. Okay. So there's 5 words that we're going to be focusing in on throughout these notes, and we're going to come back and kind of make this top cheat sheet. So the first word we're going to talk about is complementary. Complementary, you were first introduced to it in 7th grade. All right. Supplementary. All right. Then we have the word adjacent. We have the word vertical. And we have the word congruent. So go ahead and list these 5 words on the top of your paper. Now, if you need more time and I continue going on and you're not done writing, don't forget at any point you're able to pause this video without any problems. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna visit all 5 of these in their own rights and take a look at them. All right, so again, if you need more time, please pause. Otherwise, I'm gonna kind of move forward. All right, so again, we're going to focus in specifically on the vocabulary element of this. All right, and the design for what we're going to do. So our first focus in is the phrasing complementary angles. So now if I were to give you a compliment, it's kind of a thing between me and you, right? It's just kind of 2 of us. Sometimes there might be 3, but it's kind of that intimate, emotional, just real, kind of thing that ties to 2. So complementary angles, they're small. They're just little things. So a way to remember them. So these are angles that add to 90 degrees. Okay? So a couple of things that we're going to see when we see angles that add up to 100 degrees. First and foremost, you're going to see the box in the corner. The box means 90 degrees. All right, so I'm going to ask that you draw this 90-degree angle. Please draw the box in it, and please draw this label, because I can't be complimentary without knowing that it's supposed to be 90 degrees. So those kind of have to tie together with what it's doing. All right, now sometimes our 90-degree angle is judo chopped, where there's another line that's going through it, right? So this is where kind of this next part of our vocabulary ties in. This is saying that this first angle here and this second angle here, when I put them together, well, that's going to make a 90-degree angle together, right? So with this, it's kind of taking the idea of adding 2 angles together. So with this lesson, we're going to focus in on writing the equation. So we're going to call this one angle A, and we're going to call this one angle B. So for complementary angles, we've got 2 angles, A and B, that when combined together, they have to make 90 degrees. All right, so every single one that is complementary with the box is always going to be angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90. Angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of examples and what this would look like in setting up the equation. So we're not doing any of the math just yet. We're purely setting up the equation. And that line is very crooked. My apologies. All right, so let's call this one angle 4, and we're gonna call this one angle 8, because I want you to get used to it's whatever they give you. It's not necessarily what you think or what numbers are there, okay? So we're gonna call this again spot 4 and spot 5. So when we write this, again, angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90, we would say that angle 4, so this little caret here, and actually it needs a little loop-d, angle 4, that's this guy, plus angle 8 together need to make 90 degrees. All right, let's do another one. Okay, and really it doesn't matter where I draw this line because the process is going to be the absolute same. So let's call this one cat, and we're going to call this one cow. Why? Well, because I can. All right, so again, together, angle cat and angle cow. So we have angle cat plus angle cow together have to make, what do they have to make together? Yep, they have to make 90 degrees. So the moment that I see this box, the two angles, or it could be three, I could have judo chopped this one more, and I could say frog. So now this would say cat plus frog plus cow equals 90. So I can judo chop it again and again. It doesn't matter as long as I understand the setup. All right, so up here in the vocabulary, we're going to say adds to 90 degrees. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a little colon there, and we're going to say angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 90 degrees. So that is our format for learning about the angles. All right, yay, step 1 done. All right, so it's really easy to see complementary. You see the box, you know it's 90, you got right angle, right angle, right angle. You guys got this. This next one, I think it hurts your brain. All right, this next one is supplementary angles. All right, and what this is saying is I need enough supplies to make this bigger angle. All right, so supplementary angles are two or more angles that combine to make 180 degrees. So two complementary angles together is supplementary. I have enough supplies to make 180 degrees. Okay, now here's also the thing. So we learned with complementary, so I'm going to kind of draw myself a little picture up here so you can see it. And I'm just going to draw it in pencil. You don't have to draw it, but if you want to see it. So we just learned, and I'm going to use this red line here because I know that that is 90 degrees. So we just learned a complementary angle is 90 degrees. So from this spot to this spot, this whole gap all up in here is 90 degrees. Well, if I butt another complementary angle this direction with another 90 degrees, because 90 degrees and 90 degrees make that 180. And now I continue this loop. Well, what we just said is this entire space from 90 to 90, 90 to 90, this whole thing makes a straight line. Whoa, right? This whole thing made a straight line. So that means supplementary angles make a straight line. All right, so when I put two 90-degree angles together, that bottom row is a straight line. So if I take these pens and I have this acute angle, remember the space in between is what we're measuring, and I widen it out, I have complementary, and I widen it out, I now have this obtuse, and I keep going and I keep going. Eventually, it makes a straight line. A straight line is an angle. It's called a straight angle. So supplementary angles actually make a straight line. So all straight lines are 180 degrees. So all straight lines are 180 degrees. All right, so that's something that we really need to understand with what we're doing. So all straight lines, 180 degrees, and you just know it. All right, so here we have a couple of straight lines. One line, two lines, straight line. Okay, So all this means is straight off the bat, this has to equal 180 degrees. Okay, it's talking about the space, and I thought I had my colored pencils, but they ran away. So this space is 180 degrees. Now, if I judo chop it, which I have the superpower to do, I'm allowed, it's saying that this space here and it's saying this space here together have to make 180 degrees. So if we call this angle A and we call this angle B, well, we set up our equation just like we did with complementary. It's saying angle A plus angle B, when I put them together, it's going to make 180 degrees. I can judo chop it. A lot of times we see it judo chopped multiple times. Right? And so let's call this one angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. So again, if I were to color angle 1, and I color angle 2, and I color angle 3, well, when I put them together, it makes the arc of 180 degrees. So again, angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 have to equal 180 degrees. So it's just working on that setup of how do these combine together to be able to get that answer. All right, so let's try a couple. Let's judo chop this one, and we're going to call this K and A. And we're going to judo chop this one here and here. And we're going to call this, what do we want to say? Let's spell cat, C, A, and T. All right, so let's set up these equations. So what would these look like? Because they're supplementary. Again, I see that this is a straight line. They can tell me it's a straight line. So that means this and this together have to make that straight line. All right, so what do we think? Well, remember, angle 1, so K, plus angle 2, which in this case is A, together have to make 180 degrees. If together they make a straight line, they have to be that 180. Let's take a look at this other one. How would we find it out? Well, if I'm writing this is angle 1 and angle 2 and angle 3 when we put them together. So we have angle C plus angle A plus angle T all have to equal 180. This concept isn't that it's difficult. It's just like, is it really that easy? Yes, it really is that easy. It is that straightforward with what we're doing. So let's go ahead back to our first page, and we're now going to add this to it. Supplementary. It adds to 180 degrees. So in this case, angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees. So let's go ahead and add that component in there. I know, isn't this so exciting? You guys are like, oh my goodness, she's still talking. I'm sorry, I get excited over math, and I want to make sure you guys get it. And that's my purpose of teaching, is to actually get it for you. All right, so this next vocabulary word is pretty straightforward. We're not going to do anything with it because you already have. Adjacent angles are simply angles that are next to each other. All right, adjacent angles are next door neighbors. All right, so A is adjacent to C. C is adjacent to A. A is adjacent to T. T is adjacent to A. T and C are not adjacent. They're not next to each other. A is in between them. Okay, so angles that are next to each other are called adjacent. Angles that are next to each other are called adjacent. All right, so angles that are next to each other. All right, so again, we're just focusing on the vocabulary, because when I say, hey guys, go ahead and label the adjacent angle, and you're going to go, label the what? All right, I need to know that you know what I'm talking about. All right, so with that paper is done. All right, we're on our very last component of all of this. All right, the last component, and you guys did very well on your pretest with this. It is that of vertical angles. Okay, so it is that of vertical angles. All right, so vertical angles are simply angles that are across from each other. But there's a stipulation. It has to be across from each other through an intersection. That's what I want, I'm sorry. I always write that second C and I'm like, oh, that was supposed to be an S. Okay. All right, so in order to have vertical angles, you have to have things that crisscross. All right, and if these vertical angles are truly across each other, that means that they are congruent. Or in other words, equal. Okay, so in equations, we say equal. In geometry and shapes, we use the word congruent. All right, so in this case, when you have intersecting lines, you have multiple vertical angles. Right, so for instance, I'm going to color this one in orange. So his vertical angle, the angle that is across from him, would be all the way here to this right-hand side. All right, and we can label this 1, 2, 3, and 4. So in this case, angle 1 and angle 3 are congruent. So congruent is an equal sign, and then it has a little squiggle guy above it. So it's the equal sign with the little tilde squiggle, right? If 1 and 3 are opposite of each other, that also means that 2 and 4, angle 2 has to be congruent to angle 4 because they are vertical to each other. And yeah, it's that straightforward. Now we could also tie some other vocabulary words to this because if you notice, if I slide my paper, well, notice angle 1 and 2 are adjacent. They're next to each other. And also notice angle 1 and 2 are on a straight line. So they also add up to 180. And if I spin my paper, well, that means also 2 and 3 add up to 180. And that also means that angle 3 and 4 add up to 180. And that's why the numbers keep getting reused over and over again, because whatever 1 is has to partner with 2. And whatever 2 is has to partner with 3. So they have to have the same number. It's like brain overload. Because it's so simple, but it's kind of hard. Because you overthink it and you're like, wait, how does this go? All right, so let's take a look here then at this other intersection. All right, so I'm going to label them M, A, T, and H. Okay, so let's identify the pieces and parts. What is vertical? What is across from each other? Well, the first thing that you could say is what? Go ahead. Yeah? I can't really hear you. It's a video. All right, so we could say that A, well, that's across from H. So we can say angle A is congruent to angle H. I forgot my angle sign. I'm sorry. We could also then say angle M is congruent to T. And then if you're living the risky life, that's when you can then say, well, I could also say that angle M plus angle A equals 180. And then I could say angle A and angle T equal 180, and angle T and angle H equal 180, and angle M and angle H, and then you're like, Ms. Cooley, bring it down. But it's true. All of these concepts tie together. All right, so let's practice. All right, and if you need more time, remember, pause whenever you did. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to write these 3 problems down in your notes, and I want you to do 3 things. Okay, 2. All right, I want you first to identify for me which vocabulary word it represents. Remember, we have complementary, supplementary, adjacent, vertical, and congruent. Oh, and we forgot to write up here. I'm so sorry. Julie's losing her brain. So vertical, angles plus each other. And then we're going to write congruent. It's supposed to say congruent. And then we have to define congruent, and that means equals. All right. So now that we have that written, let's go ahead and do these problems. So you're going to identify for me first which vocabulary word is represented. So this one, this one, and this one. Then you need to identify the equation and or anything you can about it. All right, so pause the video because otherwise, well, it's going to pause for you here in a second. And you're going to give me your thoughts and your answers. So go ahead and pause. Go ahead and do the problems and then unpause me to see your answers. All right, so let's take a look at what we should have written. So A, we notice this is on a straight line. So we should have answered that this was supplementary. Right? And then we could have written an equation and we could have said 102 plus x equals 180 degrees. We could have also declared that these are 102 and x are adjacent. Right? Let's take a look at the other one. The other one, we could have said, well, these are complementary. We could have then recorded the equation. Now I forgot this, so you could have used anything. You could have said A plus 57 equals 90 degrees. Ooh, that's a really ugly 90, I'm sorry. And then you could have said A and 57 are adjacent. All right, and then in this last one, well, you could have said that we have a vertical. We also have supplementary. And you could have said, okay, well, if that's the case, that x is congruent to 85. You could have said x plus y equals 180. You could have said y plus 85 equals 180. And you could have said, if you included that guy in something there too. You could have said 85 is adjacent to y is adjacent to x, any of those. All right. So hopefully through this, you were able to gain a little bit more understanding as to what we're looking for and kind of get an understanding of, one, how I'm going to teach and all that stuff. So I look forward to seeing everything that you are doing and enjoy your practice.